Welcome back, pod people. Today, my guest is Preston DeFrancis, the director and co-writer of Ruin Me, a sort of postmodern or metamodern or whatever we're calling that these days, slasher film available now on Shudder. And I call it postmodern because it fits very clearly into the sort of ongoing artistic conversation about the evolution of the slasher film. It is set at sort of a summer camp for adults, a weekend getaway. It kind of reminds me of the escape room fad, where the characters in the movie start out at least participating in what they think is a fake just for fun slasher movie, complete with custom t-shirts given to them by the company that they're paying to make this experience for them. Of course, as you would expect in a movie like this, things go awry and it becomes a real slasher movie. Or does it? It's very complex, and so I would really love it if you could talk a bit about how you came to this very complex and very, like I said, situated in that artistic conversation. Like, if this was the very first slasher movie that somebody saw, I think it would not make a lot of sense to them. But if somebody's a big slasher fan, like I imagine certainly I am, and everyone listening to this, and I imagine everyone who watches your movie, then the added context will make it make sense. And so I'm curious if you could talk a bit about your motive there and how that influenced your artistic decisions when making the film.
Yeah, well, thank you first of all for having me, Thomas. It's great to meet you. And Prep, I listened to a number of episodes, and I really enjoy the show. So,
thank you.
Really happy to be a part of it. I'll take one quick step back. So my writing partner and I, Trista. So when I say we, usually I'm referring to Trista and me. I might also be referring to there were sort of five of us on our producing team. My wife, Becca Stone, was the line producer. And Trista's partner, David Hendelman, was one of our executive producers. And my oldest and best friend, Aaron Galligan-Sturl, was one of our producers. So sometimes we will be, Trista and I, sometimes I'm referring to the five of us. And it was quite a group effort. So I, as the director, I get to do a lot of the fun stuff like a podcast, but it was all of us really working hard on this. So Trista and I had really wanted to make our first film, and we'd gone to film school together. I was there for directing, and Trista was there for screenwriting, and we had made shorts together, but had not yet had an opportunity to make a feature. And Trista had come up through the sort of the indie film space and working with a company that does indie films. And so she kind of had some experience in the indie film side, and she met a gentleman through that who said, you know what, I have $30,000 and I have this island in Louisiana that you can shoot on for free. And so why don't you and your partner Preston come up with a movie, that we could do a horror movie, that we could do a found footage horror movie that we could do for $30,000.
Oh.
So Trista and I put our thinking caps on, and we were, what could we do to take advantage of this opportunity? And Trista was also, as many of us artists here in LA we have a million side hustles. So she had this side hustle writing reviews of things in Los Angeles, right? And so she got to review this event called the Great Horror Campout, which many people know because it was featured as it was on Shark Tank. They pitched it on Shark Tank and got money from Shark Tank.
I've heard of it, but I had no idea it was on Shark Tank.
yeah, and sadly, I think they did it for a little while, but it is no longer around. I Krista and I participated. She reviewed it. And so it was all in that sort of same soup that we have this possibility of an investor. We have, we came up with this idea for this fictional version of the Great Horror Campout. And as we started talking, we said, the Great Horror Campout, when we attended, it's like 200, 300 people. So you never actually felt fear. You never actually felt afraid, like something really bad could go wrong. So we started saying, like, well, what would it take to make you actually feel afraid? It was like, okay, way less people, like 6 people. And it would have to be an isolated place. And we'd have to go out into the middle of the woods or something. And they'd have to take our cell phones because, with the Great Horror Campout, we had our cell phones with us. So, we could just call 911 if we wanted to. And so that was the genesis of that idea. And then we started imagining what it would be like as a found footage movie, because that was sort of the dictate from the investor.
Yeah, my first thought there is these people have their cell phones with them, and in the original campout, they could you could get that, like they could record it with their phones, get that footage.
Yep. We thought about that. I remember I got an email ad for like these glasses that had a camera in them, and I was like, oh, maybe the funny guy wears these glasses that have a camera in them. And but then, so that's all plot stuff, right?
Right.
So then we started to say, well, who are the characters, and what would be who are the characters we're exploring? And at some point, we came upon the protagonist, the character of Alexandra, and for some reason, we just really took a liking to this idea of, well, what if it was all from her perspective, and what if you didn't know if the game was real or not, and then it became like, okay, so it has to be locked into her perspective, because we're playing, the very notion that we're playing with is this idea of, is it real or not? And therefore it can't be found footage. And
can you go into that a little? Like, why can't it be?
Because so found footage, by its nature, locks you into the perspective of a mechanical recording device, right?
Yes.
It could be multiple mechanical recording devices, but it makes the mechanical recording device a part of your narrative.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So part of our premise for Ruin Me is we are exploring this question of the psychology of the protagonist. Is what she is experiencing, is it in fact happening, or is some of it in her head?
Oh, okay. So like for example, the scene where the cop tells her to like spread her pussy, and we're like, did that actually happen, or did she hallucinate him saying that? It would, if it had been recorded within the fiction, she could have played that back and confirmed one way or the other.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
And I think that part of the found footage convention is that what we are seeing in the found footage, we believe, we know that is actually happening, that those events have happened, right? And we wanted that as, exactly. And so we felt that those two things were at odds. So that investor, we had it all, sort of the premise all worked out, and why it couldn't be found footage, but we believed we could still do it for a very small price. And so we pitched our idea to that investor, and he said no.
Oh.
He said absolutely not. He said it has to be found footage. Huh. And I said, well, but we can do it in a way that is not, it's going to be as cheap as found footage, and he said no. And
Huh.
so Tristan and I went away with our tails between our legs because we had gotten really excited about this premise.
Right.
Um, which now there have been a number of films that have the premise of an extreme haunt gone wrong. At the time that we had the idea, there had not been any films that basically took the
Are you,
Michael Douglas movie The Game and made it a horror film. Sorry, go ahead.
are you talking about like Hell House LLC and or what other ones?
Yeah, so I am specifically attuned to this because I am a maker of one of these.
Of course, of course.
So the very first one that showed up on my radar was a movie called Fear Inc.
I think I've heard of that, but not seen it.
Yep, that has Abigail Breslin in it and Stephanie Drake, I believe is the actress's name.
Mhm.
So that premiered at Tribeca in 2016 when we were in post, and so I saw like the log line of the horror movies at Tribeca. Like we're literally doing the sound mix and stuff, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh great, a movie with my same premise is out there first. So there's that one. There is like Hellfest. Sort of has the premise of a big. It's a bigger event, but a bigger event where there's actually a killer there. The escape room movies, the two big budget escape room and Escape Room 2, basically have the premise of an escape room where people are actually dying.
Right.
And so that the premise is out there. Oh, there was a little film called Extremity, which is that premise. So there are a number of films, and I'm probably even forgetting some. There was one called American Fright Fest. A number of films with this premise. But when we came up with the premise, we thought we were highly original. So we were really excited about the premise. So Trista and I said, okay, how can we make this ourselves? And so that is the point at which we said, okay, we're going to shoot that. What we have is Trista's family has some property in Michigan. She has a cabin on a lake in Michigan. And so we have that area. There's a little swath of beachfront. There's a little swath of woods, so can we make it work there? And so we decided that we were going to shoot in Michigan. Trista and I each decided to invest some of the money, some of the meager savings we had made, saving up, working in low level jobs here in Hollywood, and so that's how it was born. That was the genesis of the project, and it really became wanting to explore the idea of is it real or is it not real? And then the final piece that clicked into place for us was, well, if we're exploring that in the Michael Douglas movie The Game, which ostensibly is a text that we based some of what we did in Ruin Me on. So the whole
Which is,
reason,
if I recall correctly, is in turn sort of an adaptation of the Most Dangerous Game.
is it? I don't know. You might be right. I don't know if that's true or not, but I believe you. So in The Game, the reason that he goes through this experience is because he's like not appreciating his life, right? And so the experience that he goes through helps him to appreciate the life that he's living. So we started to ask ourselves, well, why? What is the reason that she would have to go through this experience? And this is a horror movie, so we said there has to be a villain, and so that's where we came up with the idea that her boyfriend was putting her through this terrible, terrible experience as a sick and twisted test. And once those things locked into place, that was sort of, those were our guiding lights for the project. Does that answer your question? Maybe in a long roundabout way.
Well, it's certainly a great background on the creation of the premise of the movie. So I'm particularly curious. Well, I have a lot of questions, but the one I'm wondering about at the moment is if you could talk a bit about sort of how you see Ruin Me fitting into the sort of the history of horror, of slasher films in particular, because I'm thinking about like how there was sort of the I was thinking about this the other day, trying to come up with names for the different categories in my mind. But there's like pre-modern slasher films, which are things like Cat People and Psycho and homicidal, things where it's very, it's just, here is a story. The story happens to be about a person like stabbing people. And then there was the sort of modern horror films of the 80s, like Friday the 13th or The Burning or all those, where they're like, oh, okay, the audience loves the kills. Let's really focus on kills, and everything else is there to support that. And then there's postmodern stuff that really got kicked into high gear by Scream, where it's like, okay, there have been enough modern horror films that they've developed these sort of codified tropes. Let's explicitly acknowledge those and play with them directly. And then since then, postmodern horror films have sort of gotten killed by irony poisoning, in my view, where I've seen a lot of movies that have sort of similar premises to Ruin Me, in that they are explicitly about characters who not only analogize the situation that they're in to a slasher film, like they like in Scream, but like explicitly conceive of themselves as being inside of a fictional slasher film. Like I watched Final Girls recently. Have you seen that?
Yes.
Yeah, and like in that, they like literally go inside a screen. They interact with the physical object that is the credits on the screen and stuff like that. And to me, while there was certainly a lot to appreciate about the production and stuff in Final Girls, it was so many like sort of meta levels of irony and detachment that I didn't really find myself caring about the outcome of the events of the story. Whereas in Ruin Me, while the characters are like, at least the protagonist is at least at the beginning conceiving of herself as being in this sort of fictionalized scenario, there's also real human conflict going on that becomes more and more pronounced as the movie goes on. And so I did care about the characters, and I was like not just concerned about how the outcome and like trying to figure out what's real and what's not, but also just like I want to see how these characters progress. What is the thing that she's hiding, which, spoilers, ends up being drug addiction. And so I'm curious how you thought about, like, how did you decide what level of like humor to go with? Because if I just described this situation, the premise of the story, one would, or at least I would assume, that it's a horror comedy, and not just a straight up horror film. Whereas this is really just a straight up horror film. Like, it has humorous moments, but they'll come from the characters. And so, yeah, talk about that a bit if you could.
Yeah, it's an interesting tonal challenge and balance, and one that we were very aware of as we were writing and making the film, and one that seems like for you, based on what your reaction is, it seems like it was a success for you.
Yeah, I would say so.
And I appreciate that. I would say, I've gotten to reflect on it for a while now, and read what others have said online, and other reviewers, some professional reviewers, some non-reviewers.
As a fellow creative, that's always the worst part.
It is the worst / best We were talking about the tonal balance of
Yes,
sort of
yeah,
the meta elements with the emotional elements.
right, yeah, yeah. How do you balance that? How do you and why did you choose to make this not a comedy, given the sort of intrinsically ridiculous nature of people thinking they're in a fake slasher and then they're in a real slasher?
Yeah, part of the answer is a mystery even to me. It 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 is partially just how as Tristan and I were beating out this idea that's where the idea led us. Is part of the answer. So the hand on our hand on the Ouija board that moved us to this idea is partially the answer. I think another part of the answer is that in truth, my aspirations are to make sort of what some people would call elevated horror or prestige horror, and so I really wanted to use the horror format to explore a character drama, and so I love horror films. I hope that's obvious from
Yes.
the making of the film, but I also love all films, and
Yeah.
so I wanted to make something that sort of the sugar that makes the pill go down is the horror setting, is the humor and the funny interactions between the characters, but that is getting you into a more dramatic storyline, and so we tried to ride that tonal line. I reflecting on it, is it 100% successful? I don't know that it is, but we knew that we were taking a big swing, and we we did our absolute best.
Yeah. So talking about the character drama, a thought that I always have when I'm watching, and I almost always ask people about when I'm interviewing them, since I interview almost exclusively horror filmmakers.
Yeah.
In any movie, regardless of genre, you really need to get the audience to care about the characters. And in most genres, you try to get the audience to like the characters, or at least like the protagonists, like the central characters. Um, Whereas in horror, it is also okay to make the audience hate the main characters, as long as you care about the outcome of what happens to them. Either
Mm-hmm.
you want them to live or you want them to die, etc. And so when watching Ruin Me, for most of the movie, the character that I cared the most about, that I was most invested in, was the boyfriend.
Huh.
Uh,
All right.
uh,
Fascinating.
and I liked him uh, for most of the movie, and then his mask drops in the last little bit, and he reveals that he has been orchestrating all this, which made me like him less. But also the explanation of what was going on there made me still have a great deal of sympathy for him, because like his girlfriend had been lying to him this whole time.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious if you could talk a bit about what techniques you use to try to get the audience to like or dislike the different characters in the film.
Yeah. It is always it's always part of it, because as you say, we as writers, we have simply words on the page, but then even as filmmakers, we only have so many tools to get you, the audience, to actually have feelings for these things which are not real at all, right? And so we so for the character of Alex, we wanted you to like her, even though she had some mistakes that she had made in the past. I think that making her the fish out of water, making her sort of behind everyone else's knowledge of slasher sleep out, sort of put you in her shoes automatically, so that you the audience don't know what's happening, and the character doesn't know what's happening, and these scary guys are running at her and putting a hood over her, and so we wanted to try to engender sympathy with her for that. And also to have sort of a sense of humor about the whole thing. She kind of laughs at how seriously the goth characters Pitch and Marina take the whole thing. And when she learns that you can't take your bags with you, she says, "Oh, we'll just rough it." So trying to paint this portrait of like, I'm a girlfriend who has this sort of boyfriend who loves this nerdy thing, and I'm just gonna like be game and go along with it. Was how we tried to get you to like her. I'm love to hear that you liked the character of Nathan so much, played by Matt Delapina, who is a producer and writer in his own right.
You're good with names. I almost always forget the characters' names and just remember them by their role in the story. So
yeah,
like protagonist and boyfriend and
as an audience member, of course, I'm the same, but I've lived with this for a long time. So
yeah.
So the boyfriend character Nathan, that was more of a challenge because we really wanted him to sort of disappear a little bit, so you don't suspect him, you don't think about him. I found it really interesting watching Scream 5, which was called just Scream, of course, in 2022.
5 Cream.
Yes, that one. I felt like for the character of the boyfriend in that movie, who ultimately, of course, spoiler alert, ended up being one of the killers. I felt like they used a lot of the similar techniques in that movie that we used for the character of Nathan to sort of make him disappear and feel like an innocuous force, a little bit nerdy, a little bit milk toasty, so that you don't feel like he's the guy who's going to have the spine to be wielding the knife in the end. I mean, those are our leads. I feel like the character of Larry, the comic relief character, we just wanted you to feel like he was a fun guy that you would just maybe a little bit annoying, but also you have him along for a good laugh. And then I think with the goth characters, Pitch and Marina, they just are really serious about this and take a lot of pride in it. And I feel like in general, audiences respond to people who take a lot of pride in whatever they're doing.
Yeah. I liked them. The male goth was like annoying in a very realistic way, and the female goth was sort of covering for him, and again a very realistic way that certainly made me want to see him get a comeuppance and made me like her. So
awesome.
And
I feel like you got all of the colors that we were trying to paint with those characters, so I appreciate your reaction.
Yeah. So let me see. Sorry, my brain's a little rattled. For anyone listening at home, there's been all sorts of real life drama unexpectedly happening with my neighbor being assaulted 30 seconds before the interview began. So the interview got delayed a bit. One thing that was particularly unusual about the manner in which I watched Ruin Me, a friend of mine, John Carpenter, watched it and liked it and showed it to me.
Cool that you have a friend named John Carpenter.
I was wondering if I would trick you with that or not. He is not the famous John Carpenter.
I had a feeling, but just making sure.
He watched it and he liked it, so he showed it to me, and I really liked it. I was on vacation with him at the time, and he went to sleep before me, and so then I noticed that on Shudder there was the commentary as well, and so
cool.
never seen that on a streaming site before. So how did that come about?
Yeah, it is rarer on streaming sites. So there was a film that came out a year before my film called Found Footage 3D, and
Okay.
I was just tracking it because it had a very similar trajectory that Ruin Me had, that played many of the same festivals, and then ultimately ended up as a Shudder exclusive. So I was just, and I ended up getting to meet the filmmaker, Steven DeGennaro. He's Austin based, and when we played at the Austin Film Festival, I got to meet him, and which was really great. And so I was always just paying attention to everything that they did in the life of their film. And when they premiered on Shudder, I saw that they premiered with their director's commentary. And so I said, I don't even think at that point that we knew that we were going to be a Shudder film, but I said, let's make sure we record one of these. Hopefully we'll get a DVD release. Hopefully we'll get a chance to put this out somewhere. And so when we made our deal with Shudder, we just said, hey, we also recorded this director's commentary. We'd love for you guys to put it on there. And they did. They honored our request. And I'm sure you noticed that on the page, it sort of like directs you to it right away after, on the page for the main film. And we requested that they do that so people could discover it without having to like specifically search. And it also, we did get a DVD release and Blu-ray release for the film, and the commentary is on there as well. We really tried to make it super informative and honest, and talking about really what it took to get it made. I feel like you're probably one of like 3 people that's listened to it, so I appreciate it.
If you want to laugh, I recommend scrolling through the reviews and checking out the 1-star ones that are like, why are there people talking over this movie?
I'm somewhat embarrassed to say that I do keep an eye on those reviews. So I did see that one and actually screen capped that one, because it is a pretty funny that someone didn't realize that they were watching the commentary track version. But that's okay.
If somebody grew up in any era of film other than like the height of the Criterion Collection home DVD boom, director's commentary is an unusual thing. Anytime before that, like VHS didn't have that, and anytime after that, this is really new in terms of streaming. So I could understand like a teenager not even knowing that director's commentaries are a thing.
Is a concept. You're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. I was locked into my generational echo chamber and finding that ridiculous. But you're right. It's, some people may not know that the concept exists. So cool.
Yeah. That's really interesting that you sort of pitched the idea to Shudder for the director's commentary. I would have assumed it would have been the other way around. I wonder if they're going to like ask other people to do the same thing if it proves popular, if it's like a value add at little or no extra cost to them.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that some other smaller films, like I believe there's a film called Sequence Break that played at Fright Fest the same year that we played, which is a Shudder exclusive. They actually have 2 commentary tracks on there. There's like a director's commentary and like a producer actor commentary or something like that.
There is. That's about they're approaching the most number of commentary tracks I've seen for a single film on streaming.
Yeah.
The top one is The Toxic Avenger on Trauma Now, which has 3 different ones. It's got I think it's 3. It's like a director's commentary, another one, and the villain's commentary. The actors who played the villains in the movie do a commentary.
It's cool. That's fun.
Yeah. So I really hope that becomes like a new normal thing, because I love not just watching a movie but learning about the movie. And I think that Shudder clearly has like a market of people who want that kind of thing with the success of like The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs,
Yeah.
which is all about here's extra context for the movie, here's like backstory about how it was made, and that's the same kind of thing you get in a director's commentary. So I hope that there are more people watching that sort of thing.
Yeah, I really don't know. I would have a feeling that the ones that would be the most important to them would be the, you know, sort of they're bigger titles, you know, a title like Ruin Me. Where I'm excited to give it to them, you know, I'm excited to record a commentary and give it to them. You know, I doubt it moves the needle very much for them. But, you know, if they were to get a bigger filmmaker to do an exclusive commentary or something, that would be cool. That would be really cool.
I'm really. Do you have any insight? Like, are you provided any of the data about like how many times people stream your movie or anything like that from Shudder?
None whatsoever. None at all.
Okay. Tell me a bit about the process of working with Shudder, because I think Ruin Me is marketed as a Shudder exclusive. Is that right?
It is marketed, and it is in fact a Shudder exclusive.
Although, oh yes, okay, they do use the term exclusive, not original. A lot of things like Netflix will call something a Netflix original, but they just paid for the exclusive rights to it. They didn't actually produce it. So exclusive is a more transparent way of describing that. I like that.
Yep.
So yeah, tell me a bit about how that process worked, and is this like have they purchased indefinite rights to it? Is it like a 6-month thing? How's that working?
Great questions. So so we produced this movie totally independently on our own, and you know, we have a finished movie on a hard drive, and it's like, okay,
sure, hope you do.
Now what? You know, it's like now what do we do with it? You know, and we really tried to be smart at every step of the way and do research, talk to other people, listen to podcasts, and so the conclusion that we came to is that without any recognizable stars in our movie or in front of or behind the camera, that the festival route was the way that we could take our film and give it a stamp of quality. Okay. And so we said, okay, we're going to do the festival thing. So that was a big journey in and of itself, and took a long time to get our first yes. We got our first yes from Fright Fest in London, which is an amazing genre festival. Some have called it one of the top 5 genre festivals in the world. It is a top experience for me. Incredible multi-day festival in London that just has incredible fan support, incredible filmmaker support, incredible publicity, everything. It's an incredible festival. So getting into that festival helped us. Then that was the first, you know, snowflake in the snowball, and so we ended up playing 30 some festivals around the world, and because of that, we were able to get a sales aid. Do you have a question?
Well, I was going to say, so yes. This whole time you're paying for submission fees to the festival. Yes. I assume that you're paying your own like airfare and hotel to any festival you're attending. I assume you're attending all of the festivals that it gets into. Are any of my assumptions wrong?
Your assumptions are mostly correct with some caveats. Sometimes festivals will pay to fly you out and put you up. There were a couple that did that, fortunately. That's us.
Good. I was under the impression that mostly just happened for bigger names. So it's good to hear that it happened with a directorial debut.
Yeah, it was. That's awesome. That's awesome. Not many of the festivals could do that. Most of the time it was me paying my own way. And, you know, I would look on Facebook and do a search by city and say, oh, I'm going to Portland. Who do I know in Portland? And then I'd say, hi, can I, do you have a couch I can stay on for a couple nights? And um,
Yeah.
so at a certain point, it was literally impossible to go to every festival during like the peak season, which is September, October.
There
Sometimes it
were
was multiple at the
multiple
same
ones on the same
time.
weekend. Yeah, yeah.
And we went to, we would divide, the five of us would divide and conquer, which was really fun.
Oh, right, because you had so many producers.
Yeah, yeah.
That's an
Um,
advantage.
yes, it was a huge advantage. And then there were some that just if it was too far away or too expensive to get there or whatever, that I wasn't able to make it. But I really tried to go to as many as I could, and not just. And this is advice for filmmakers, not just surgically fly in for your film, and then like as soon as it's over, you're on the bus out of town. We really tried to go and experience the duration of the festival, make connections with other filmmakers, see their films. And that was some of the most valuable stuff for me, was getting to talk to filmmakers who were, a few levels above me in terms of their budgets and experience, maybe a few levels below me in terms of their budgets and experience, but hearing just from a wide swath of filmmakers who had films in these festivals, and learning about what was important to them, how they got to where they got. So educational for me.
Yeah,
So okay, so we're
I was going to just say I completely agree that participating, like my experience professionally at conventions
mm-hmm.
is as a game publisher
Yes,
and designer, and so with my stuff,
yes,
uh I strongly agree that participating in the social aspect of things, playing other people's games, talking with folks after hours, all of that is more valuable than any of the like officially scheduled moments that you're going to. Both are crucial. So yeah, I
yeah,
think that advice of don't just fly in, fly out, and only be there for your thing is really valuable and important. It is a very good idea to stick around and talk with folks. I've made all sorts of connections by like just happening to be around some place like at midnight or whatever after all the official events have ended,
yeah.
and made friendships that have lasted years now, and I see them every time we go to conventions. So
Yep, yep, yeah. So it sounds like an equivalent experience, that for in your tabletop gaming, right? Fear of the Unknown,
that's right.
tabletop gaming.
Yeah,
Yep,
fear of the
cool.
unknown rpg.com, available now.
Excellent. I listened to a few of your podcasts about that as well, and
Oh,
it sounds
thanks. Yeah.
awesome. Sounds
Yeah, I
awesome.
got a few actual plays before I really settled in on the interview formula for the show.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Okay, so festival journey. So we got a sales agent.
Right.
Pretty much after in conjunction with the Fright Fest premiere. So a sales agent is somebody who represents your film to sell it to buyers, right?
Distributors.
Distributors. And so now we went from literally just us. Now we have like one person who's like on our side to help push our film out. And so my guiding light was, I want to do everything in my power to up the prestige level of this film. It's a tiny, tiny horror film. So from an unknown filmmaker
Right.
with unknown actors. So everyone's assumption is it's bad. It's not, so I want to do everything I can to take that and change that narrative. And so that was my guiding light for the sales agent as well. We actually received an early offer from a distributor that, in my view, they will remain unnamed, but in my view, would have taken that narrative in the opposite direction. And there was cash on the table, not a ton,
Yeah.
but there was some. And the sales agent was like, "There's money on the table. We should take it." And I said no. I said I don't want to go with that distributor.
Was it
And
trauma?
I will not comment one way or the other on any particular
Yeah,
claim
no,
for
no.
video.
I'm just joking. I'm going to be interviewing Lloyd Kaufman in a bit, and I've read all his books.
Legend.
He's incredibly self-deprecating about his remarkable list of achievements. That's the only reason I feel comfortable making that kind of joke.
Yeah.
So, but I want to continue hearing this narrative about how you worked with a distributor, but I also want to briefly interject to ask a question about so this is like a assuming I assume the actual production budget was similar to the number that you quoted earlier back when you were intending on making it a found footage film, because you said that you could produce it for about the same amount of money. So that's what people typically call a micro budget film. A 5-digit number of dollars is, micro budget.
So I will say we ended up, it is a low 6-digit film, quite low.
So ultra low budget, as not necessarily micro, but still very, very low. Certainly not like a mainstream Hollywood production. And that is the genre of, genre is not quite the right word, but that is the category of film that I typically interview the filmmakers of. And it is very rare for anyone that I interview to tell me that they went through a traditional sales agent pitching to distributors route. And so I would like it if you could talk a little about why you chose to go that route as opposed to something like Film Hub, or working with a distribution company like I'm not going to remember the name properly, like Nightmare or something like that. The folks who did The Barn.
The Barn.
They ended up starting their own production company, or sorry, not production, distribution company, that focuses exclusively on that sort of like micro budget horror film kind of thing, which I'm curious, why go to all of this extra effort and expense? Because obviously every time you put another middleman in there, they're taking a cut.
Absolutely. So that's a great question. And I listened to the interview that you did with the Guts filmmakers, and they absolutely had a perspective on that, which was sort of what you're mentioning, the idea of really doing it yourself, like the way that the barn filmmakers have done. And we absolutely talked about that and looked at that. And if we had not had the success that we had, maybe we would have gone that way. For me and for us, I know myself and I know my team, and I don't think that we exactly had the appetite to be the full self promoters, unless we absolutely had to, right? We did not want to be the full on. We are doing, literally putting this out into the world totally all ourselves, right? So there's that aspect of it,
right?
But I think even more importantly is that that notion of trying to increase the perceived prestige of the film. Because I'm going to be honest in that my goals are to eventually be a filmmaker working within the system. I moved to Los Angeles and pay the ridiculous rent and gas prices and all of that stuff, and I'm still paying off my student loans for grad school at USC because that's the system that I'm trying to enter. And I knew that the closer that we could get with this film to being a part of that traditional structure would bring me closer to that goal. And the self-distribution is sort of the furthest away from the way of getting your film out that's the furthest away from that goal.
Okay, so you didn't go with the self-distribution, was it both because of the prestige and trying to get your foot in the door of that, and because you didn't want to go to all of the effort of marketing and everything. And then the reason for not going with something like Film Hub is, again, because you want to get that sort of mainstream vibe going with it.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
I just knew that with a place like Film Hub, I could tweet multiple times a day, every day for months.
God, I hate tweeting.
And I it's not something that I enjoy or do a lot of. And or I could, I could pound the paper. I just felt that for me, from the way that I am, the way that my team is, and our personal networks, I just felt that there was going to be a pretty low ceiling to the audience that we could reach with that. And so I really wanted a distributor that would take care of some of that for us. And in fact, some people would assume that, getting your film on Netflix, that would be the brass ring, because now basically anyone in the world can watch it. Netflix is worldwide. Everybody has it, or everybody has somebody's password. So everybody can watch it, right?
Although they're cracking down on that.
They are cracking down on that. But that was not the brass ring for me. Honestly, Shudder was the brass ring for me, because I knew that their curation was such that having the film there, having it on Netflix, it would sort of disappear into this ether of stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone could watch it, but who would find it? Other than, I could tell all my friends on Facebook to watch it. But how would you have found the film if it was on Netflix? Maybe, but maybe not.
I'm going to be honest. I have a Netflix subscription because my partner watches a lot of Netflix, but for me, it's Shudder and Tubi are the ways I watch movies.
Awesome.
Well, that in my local drive-in movie theater. But.
So in LA, we don't have many drive-in theaters, and the closest one that was in operation for like decades literally just closed. So I'm jealous that you have ready access to a drive-in movie theater. That's awesome.
So you got a sales agent. Sales agent pitched it to a distributor, and the distributor pitched it to Shudder, and Shudder agreed to it. Is that how it works?
It's sales agent is pitch. Shudder is a buyer. So sales agent is pitching it directly to the places like that. And it took it. So we had to say no to that one buyer. And then it was like, well, where are we going to end up? And we hit a critical mass with the festivals at a certain point. And Shudder came calling to our sales agent. Or responded to his emails and hadn't before. I don't know exactly. But Shudder became interested at a certain point when we hit the critical mass with the festivals.
Sweet. So do you think that was due to it? Like, I don't actually know how to look up accolades that it's gotten at festivals. I have IMDb in front of me, but I don't know. I don't see that on there. Is there a way to look at that?
Yeah. So on my Twitter, I have my background image has all of the laurels of all of the festivals that we played at. We have a graphic and yeah.
Nice. Do you know, in general, is there a convenient way to look that sort of thing up about an arbitrary movie?
So we were really, as I've said, we tried to be every step of the way, do it well. We also did add it to IMDb in the screening section, like the release section. So before the film got its official Shudder premiere, every time it would screen at a festival, we added that to IMDb. And so you can go to like the release date and you can see like, Austin Film Festival, whatever. It just depends on how good a job the filmmakers do at keeping that up to date. If all of that is reflected on IMDb or not.
Yes, I before I click through, it says that the premiere date was in October 5th, 2018 in Taiwan.
Wow.
Uh,
Funny.
that's the one IMDb has chosen to highlight.
Funny.
And then clicking through, it's showing me the also known as, and it's showing me things like Pusztic El in Hungarian.
Whoa.
Was this released in Hungarian?
I guess so. So here's the other thing that the sales agent does.
Yeah.
So our sales agent, so Shudder was the most important thing to me. That was where I was able to say, okay, I have a movie on Shudder, you know, and that's when I meet people, when I network with people, that's absolutely one of the first things that I'm able to say. I'm proud of it. But you know, Shudder pays a certain amount, and you asked for how long. They licensed it for 10 years. So they've got it for a while.
I hope Shudder remains in business for 10 years.
Yeah, me too. Me too. But also, Shudder didn't buy worldwide rights. They bought for territories where Shudder exists.
I was going to ask that. Yeah.
So now the opportunity exists for the sales agent to sell territory by territory. And I could do research for years and not have enough knowledge to know who the buyers are, what a good deal is. You know, that's where a sales agent that has a good relationship with international buyers is just invaluable, because yes, he does take a cut, and it is, for a little filmmaker, it is a significant cut. But I can promise you that I would not be able to sell to Hungary on my own, or China. You know, he sold all of these territories, and honestly is still trying to sell territories that have remained unsold, so that we can continue to generate some small amount of revenue for the film. So yeah, I am very happy with the route that we took with this, versus an independent. For me and for this film, this was the right journey for it.
Yeah, cool. I'm glad that that's been so successful for you. Ruin Me on Shudder has subtitles, which is something that I always appreciate as someone who's slightly hard of hearing. I have two questions about the subtitles. One, did you guys make them, or were they made by Shudder, or who made the subtitles?
Wow. So that's a good question. So we are always trying to do things as cheaply as possible, so that we can, we can hope to make a profit, which,
of course,
as of right now, we have not yet made a profit, right?
Oh boy. Okay.
So so when it came time to deliver, and many of the things I can tell you in micro detail. The subtitles, I'm not like micro detail, but I remember, okay, it was like they told us they needed, the sales agent said, you need to give us the subtitles file, right? And I remember we called in a favor with a friend of my wife's who works at a company that does it. And like, we wrote out the dialogue ourselves. We were like, we'll do everything we can to make it easy for you, but we can't make the file ourselves, or something like that. So we wrote it all out and gave it to them, and they generated the file. But then I remember there was something that it was like, oh, well, that it came in too late, so Shudder made one themselves. So the honest truth is, I don't know exactly. I mean, we made one. We did as much work as we could to make it cheaply. Then I heard that maybe Shudder did one themselves. I am very anal and particular about many things. I will say that the subtitles is one that I did not live in the weeds of the details on. Did you find the subtitles accurate, timed well, things like that?
Yes, I did.
Great. Good.
The one part that I was confused by, which is a recurring thing on Shudder, that I am now guessing you don't know the answer to, is when you select the subtitles, normally the way it's supposed to work is it's supposed to say like off or a list of languages, and usually that language is only one, it's English. But with Ruin Me and with a bunch of other titles on Shudder, it's listed as unknown.
Huh.
It's not listed as
I
English.
don't know. I don't know. But it is English. But
It is
it
English.
doesn't it doesn't
It's just not labeled English.
Right.
Right. But it is in English. Yeah. Yeah. So with now that you've achieved your like brass ring, as you put it, but you haven't made a profit. So you mentioned that the sales agent is continuing to try to pitch to presumably smaller and smaller markets.
Yep.
What path forward do you see towards making a profit? Do you see one on this film?
You know, we have done, compared to most independent films, we have done incredibly well with recouping. I think that we could make a profit. I think that continuing to sell territories, as I mentioned, Shudder has the license for 10 years. If they exist, which I assume they will be, and want to continue to have the film, that will be an additional small sum of money, or if they don't and another distributor wants to pick it up, that we also sell the Slasher Sleep Out t-shirts. We are trying to, that's our one merch that we have. I know the Barn filmmakers have a lot of amazing merch. We have one thing. So we would love to get there and love, because the honest truth is that with a film this small, for directing I took no fee, for co-writing Tristan and I took no fee, for producing, the entire producing team took no fee. So we would love to have some financial acknowledgement of our efforts, but if not, that's okay too.
So you mentioned the Barn and their merch a bit. My interview with Justin Seaman is not live yet, but I did interview him, and since yours is probably going to go live after his, but here's a little detail from that interview. A lot of that merch is being sold at cost, and they are not making a profit off of it.
Wow. So it's about recognition and awareness. Wow.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
They really they're a lot of their stuff, not all of their stuff, but a lot of their stuff, like for instance their board game. I mean, I work in the tabletop game publishing sphere. I know what the market is like for that kind of a board game, and I know what their margins are like for that kind of a production. And I can't remember the exact numbers, but they're either breaking even on every sale or losing money on every sale.
Wow.
Because they're doing print on demand for a board game, which print on demand works great for books. But for board games, it's incredibly expensive. And
fascinating.
Yeah. So it really seems like with this kind of thing, it's very difficult to break even or make a profit. And so the folks who are doing that are doing a lot of things like cutting out middlemen, not using a sales agent. And so I'm curious if, like, knowing what, because I'm sure you've learned a lot, knowing what you know now, is there anything you would do differently in the production distribution side of things? Because it seems like you were very successful from an artistic perspective of producing the film that you wanted to exist. And it sounds like more of the difficulties have arisen in after production is wrapped.
Well, I don't know. There are certainly artistic things about the film, about the writing of the film, in particular, that I'm like, you know what? Now with more knowledge, more life experience,
Okay.
I would change in terms of how we handled the after journey. No, honestly, I am incredibly grateful and happy with our festival run. I am incredibly grateful and happy to have a home on Shudder. Uh, yes, I do wish that we could break even, but I don't think I don't think that any self distribution path or any other distributor that I am aware of would have given us a better home. So
Okay.
I have no regrets in that regard at all.
So, I'm curious what you would have done differently artistically.
I try not to dwell on it too much.
Good idea.
Because it is what it is. We shot what we shot. We wrote what we wrote. We shot what we shot. Um,
And hopefully you shot what you wrote.
Yes, for the most part, yes. I just I have now that we shot that in the fall of 2015. So we're coming up on 8 years ago that we shot the film. So I've grown a lot as an artist since then. The process of making this film made me grow a lot as an artist. Going to the festivals and watching other work, reading the responses to my work, all of those things push me to grow. And so, I just feel like the work that I make and the work that Tristan and I write now is of a higher level of achievement. And so, I don't have a specific thing that I could say that I wish we had done differently. It was the absolute best we could do at that time in our lives.
Yeah. So, going back to the Shudder deal one more time, and then I promise we'll get off of production.
Yeah,
not
that's
distribution.
fine.
I mean, is so I'm gonna guess that it's a United States exclusive contract. So no other streaming service in the US can show it. But you said it's not a global exclusive contract. Is it just the United States? And does it cover anything besides streaming? Like, could you sell DVDs of it?
Great questions. It is at the time they called it English speaking territories. So Shudder took US, Canada, UK, also I think Germany and Australia, I think. I honestly I can't remember those specifics details either. But they took exclusive for everything in all of those places.
Okay.
But so at the time when we made the deal, they could not guarantee whether or not there would be a DVD, Blu-ray or not, which was a bummer for me because I know from your interviews you are not a huge physical media person, but I am.
Yeah,
and I really wanted that physical.
Most of the people I interview are really into physical media.
Yeah, and so I really wanted that, and they couldn't guarantee it, but that was one of those things where we said, okay, that's okay. So about a year after being on Shudder, so Shudder is part of AMC Networks. Okay, so they run the AMC linear channel. AMC Plus is their streaming channel. Yeah. Also, part of that family is IFC Midnight, and RLJ Entertainment, all part of AMC Networks. Okay. So they wrote to us and said RLJ Entertainment is going to put out a physical release of Ruin Me for the Halloween. So it premiered in 2018 on Shudder, and they said for the Halloween season 2019 we're going to put out Ruin Me as a physical disc. And so RLJ Entertainment put out physical DVDs were at Walmart. So I was able to go to Walmart and see my DVD on the shelf, which was an awesome feeling.
That is nice.
And the Blu-ray was through, I think it was exclusive through Amazon. It's a manufacturer on demand Blu-ray. But it looks, so the Blu-ray, they did a great job. It looks how it looked in the color suite. It sounds how it sounded on the mix stage. It's a great Blu-ray.
Nice. So, yeah. Oh, interesting. The Blu-ray has different cover art.
Yes. So all cover art, poster art, always a big conversation and, bone of contention with distributors. If you want to hear about this at all? Are you interested?
Yes, I do. I'm curious.
So, as I said, when we have a finished film, we're literally just a bunch of assholes with a movie. So no one can tell us what to do. And we have to market it ourselves and
Right.
do the best job ourselves. So a connection of my wife's professional poster maker. So we went to him, and my wife is a line producer, and she traded some of her line producing services so that he would do our poster for free. And he made that art with the upside down trees and tents and the cast in the foreground. And I love it. I mean, I worked with him on it. But that was his idea. He is the one who executed it. I love it. I love that poster. It's so cool to me.
It looks really good.
Thank you. So we use that, that's what's on when we have our festival premiere, all of that. So then the sales agent comes aboard and he goes, well, that's not going to work for us. And I
did
say,
he give
well,
reasoning?
why not?
Yeah.
I mean, he was like, well, it's like a slasher, all these casts, nobody knows these faces. This doesn't say horror movie enough. So our
That's
sales
horror
agent,
movie to me. It's a bunch of people's faces and nobody knows who these people are. That part makes sense to me, but this doesn't look like a horror movie. What do they think it looks like?
I don't know. I don't know. So he created, as part of our contract, he took he's in London, so I think it was £1,000 and paid his designer and made a poster that he used when he sells it internationally. I don't even know if that's around on the internet. That poster was based around one of the guys in the masks, and I think they put some weapon in his hand or something, So it was masked man with a weapon.
This is not the DVD box.
This is not the DVD cover. Okay, so the sales agent had his own poster that he used to sell internationally, right? So then when we were making also part of this conversation is always the title. The title is all, everybody wants a different title all the time. The sales agent was pressuring us to change the title, and we felt really passionate about the title. So
could you go a little into the title?
Yeah. Do you want me to finish this narrative or come back?
Whichever order you prefer.
Let me finish this and then I'll come back to title. So
sure.
He makes this alternate poster that we are not fans of, but that's his selling tool, right? Then when we made the Shudder deal, we were like, we would really like you guys to use our key art, and we wrote it into our contract that you cannot change the title. And they honored both of those requests, which is one of the things that's amazing working with a place like Shudder, because I'm sure they won't honor every request or, with every, whatever. But for us, we were able to get those things, a guarantee that Ruin Me would be the title and that they would use our key art, which I was thrilled with. Now that doesn't extend to the DVDs. So then RLJ Entertainment made that what you see, the three masked men sort of holding different weapons and sort of looking at the camera. And, I mean, I don't love it. I don't think it's necessarily reflective of the film, but they know their audience, and their audience is people at Walmart. The people at Walmart will not have heard the title Ruin Me, probably, right? And so they might be looking for a new slasher, and that poster says this is a new slasher. I will say this as a corollary. one of the coolest moments I had. A guy who I went to high school with, he was 3 years ahead of me, and we did a little bit of summer community theater together. So not someone that I really stayed in contact with, but I was Facebook friends with him,
Yeah.
and I always liked and respected him. One day he wrote me a random Facebook message and said, I was at Walmart and my family and I were trying to decide what movie we were going to watch that night. And we were considering buying The Shining, but then we saw this movie Ruin Me, and we decided we wanted something new. So we bought the movie Ruin Me. We watched the movie and enjoyed it. And then your name came up at the end, and we were blown away because they bought it literally simply based on the title and that cover.
That's great.
And that, that was a really cool
and this
moment for me.
this is the DVD cover of the three people in
the
masks.
Three Masked Men. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where that came from. So there were those three posters. I obviously prefer our key art that Shudder puts out there, but I get the utility of the other two are there to serve a specific purpose and a specific audience, which those people are. The sales agent, he's an expert at selling his film to international films to international territories. I'm not. So how am I? I can't argue with that. I mean, I did a little bit. I fought back a little bit, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
he knows that best. Same with RLJ. Would my friend from high school have picked up that disc if it had been our key art with six faces that he didn't know? If he was looking for a horror movie to watch with his family that night, would it have been this? We don't know. But guys in masks with weapons, though they get butts and seats. What can I say? Like, I get it. Even though that's not a big focus of our movie, that gets butts and seats, and that we need butts and seats. Go ahead. I could talk about the title. Do you have a follow-up question now? I see you might have a follow-up question.
Well, first of all, in the chat, I posted a link to what I'm guessing might be the international poster.
All right, let me see. How do I see that? I'm going to look at it. Oh boy.
There's a little icon in the lower right-hand corner that has a picture of a sort of a speech bubble. You click on that, it should pull up the chat, and then you should be able to click on the link.
Got it.
Oh, you turned off your camera.
Looking at it. Okay.
Camera's back on.
Yes, that's it. You found it. Where'd you find that?
DuckDuckGo, search for Ruin Me.
All right. Yeah, that is the poster that our sales agent made to sell the film internationally.
Yeah.
And it's scary. It's woods. It's a silhouette of a man, one of the masked men. Again, I don't think it's necessarily reflective of the film, but
I actually don't think it is a silhouette of one of the masked men. I think it's like a stock art image or something, because the person has a sort of coat silhouette that none of the masked men had, as I recall.
Yeah.
I think this was not using any of the actual like imagery from the film to create. That's my guess.
You might be right. It does look, at least it is reminiscent of a shot of one of the masked men as the boyfriend's getting pulled down the hole, and she turns and sees there's a masked man. It's at least reminiscent of that shot, if not the actual.
It's not completely unrelated or anything like that. So that's certainly good. As opposed to like the original Suspiria trailer, which has a lot of imagery that has never appears in the film at all.
I don't know that I've seen the original Suspiria trailer. I'll have to check that out. That's cool.
Oh yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah, it's a weird trailer to a weird movie, but weird in very different ways. So the title Ruin Me.
Yeah,
it's unusual, and in the director's commentary, you mentioned that I think somebody recommended going with the title like Summer Camp Slasher or Slasher Camp Slasher, whatever the name of the program in the film is.
Slasher Sleep Out.
Slasher Sleep Out. That's it.
Yeah.
And that certainly would have. I mean, like I love the genre of summer camp slasher things. It's this micro genre that has a million entries in it because everyone loves
Mhm.
Friday the 13th.
Yep.
And almost all of them are quite bad. But there's the occasional standout thing. So clearly you wanted to go with the something that would sort of set you apart from that kind of thing, because those are typically more comedic, which you're not going for, more tongue-in-cheek. But the title Ruin Me. I'm gonna betray a bit of where I'm coming from here.
Yeah, do it. Do
Uh,
it.
uh, it makes me think of like a bodice ripping romance
Huh.
or sort
Huh.
of novel,
Yeah.
or like
In fact, I think there
erotic
is a
fiction.
bodice ripping romance novel called Ruin Me.
It yeah,
I think that there is. I think that it exists.
there is. It is a stepbrother romance that I stumbled upon while
Whoa.
looking for your poster art.
Stepbrother romance. Wow.
Yeah. And so um the title of the movie makes sense after I have seen the movie, but it really tells me very little about the movie before I've seen it. So
True.
how did you come upon that? And tell me a bit about how, like, you said you received pushback against the title, but stuck with your guns. Um, yeah, tell that story.
Yeah. So, as part of Trista writing the reviews for of LA Experiences, we got to do a behind the scenes tour for the Great Horror Campout. I believe the woman's name is Melissa Carbone, who was sort of the creative mastermind.
So we were talking about the title.
Yeah. So when Trista and I got to go on this behind the scenes tour for the Great Horror Campout that was run by Melissa Carbone, who is the entrepreneur who created the Great Horror Campout. And when she was giving that tour, she said, she used this phrase. She said, "You know, we don't want people to come to the Great Horror Campout and just laugh and giggle. We want people to be psychologically ruined."
Oh,
And
interesting.
yeah, and that really stuck with me. And so when we started brainstorming this idea, I think it was me that pitched to Trista the title "Ruin Me," and it's one of those hand on the Ouija board moments. It just felt like that was the right title. For us, it felt like, as you say, unique. Um, it felt of the world of people volunteering for an extreme experience. That those people are volunteering to be ruined. And I think then on a deeper level, it felt to us like what was happening to our protagonist. That she was being ruined by this relationship. And so yeah, I feel like people always come after your title at all points. And I understand this one might be particularly controversial. I think it's cool. I like it. I stand by it. And I'll say this: in all of the pitches for other things that I heard, there was nothing else that I would want to call it. The slasher sleep out is the obvious alt. It's within the world of the film.
Right.
I just really felt like, again, trying to move toward the world of prestige. It just felt like that was a
Yeah.
move in the opposite direction, and reflective of the first half of the film, but not necessarily reflective of the ultimate intent of the film.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember one pitch was like, "Slasher House Rules." Was it a pitch
Like a
from
Cider House
someone?
Rules parody?
Yes,
Ah.
yes, yes. That I really I really fought against that one pretty hard. There's also, I don't know if it's as much in our world now, but at that moment in time, there was always a pressure to have it a lower letter title in the alphabet so that it would appear on lists lower, so it was like, oh, I'll try to get something that starts with an A, B, or C, so like,
Oh,
you know
that's that's interesting that you
yeah.
conceptualize of that as lower in the alphabet. I conceptualize that as
That
higher
is
in the
higher in the
alphabet.
alphabet. Interesting.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I
but,
don't know.
but
So yeah,
I
you
understand what you
understand
mean.
me, right?
Yeah, I certainly
Like why are things
AAA
called like
plumbing.
AAA car wash, AAA plumbing? Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, I don't want to call my film AAA slasher movie, like,
Yeah,
please. So
an
um
addict's assault.
yeah, yeah, I mean that time people would have loved it, right? So I for me and for Trista and for us as a creative team, that was a title that just felt to us like it reflected the film. So is there something better out there? Probably. There's probably always a better choice, but for us, that's what it was. That's what it was.
I'm glad that you went with something that was artistically satisfying to you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, uh, this was in this was filmed in 2015.
Yep.
That's a while now.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And have you been um focused exclusively on this one, or have you been making more movies in the interim? What have you been up to?
So I have this sort of dual path that I'm trotting as independent horror filmmaker on one side, but as I mentioned, I'm trying to break into the ranks of the Hollywood machine, and so uh, coming out of film school, I did what some people call the assistant route. So when I got out of film school, I was an assistant at HBO for many years, answering phones and getting coffee. And then I used that to break into the TV writer's room as a writer's assistant and script coordinator. And I've been working on TV shows as a writer and producer for basically the time since Ruin Me came out. That's been my source of job and income. But I am desperate to make my next feature film. And Trista and I began conceiving of it when we were on the festival tour for Ruin Me.
Okay.
And so, the very first notes I have on this date back to 2017. And we wanted to design a film that was a step up in terms of the production appetite from Ruin Me. So no longer ultra low budget, now a low budget film,
So thinking 500,000 to 1.3 million, something like that.
Yeah, something that's the range. That's the range of the appetite for sure.
Okay. It's interesting.
Definitely. Go ahead.
That's interesting to phrase it as appetite. I'm not sure I've heard that before. Do you mean something specific with that?
Just sort of, it's a phrase that it's one of those Hollywood phrases, I guess, where we just talk about like what the level of the ambition is, and it's like the appetite for how the size of the meal that we want to consume, and sometimes it's referred to as an overall production or with a specific part of a production, like the appetite to do a lot of visual effects, or the appetite to have a long post-production period.
Okay.
So we definitely designed the project. We said, okay, we're gonna increase our appetite with this one, and so along with that increase, that meant that we could not raise the money ourselves the way that we did with Ruin Me, from our own personal savings and our, the five of us putting in money and the five of our, families, to be honest. That was how we came up with the budget for Ruin Me, was the five of us and our immediate families. But we are all from quite middle class backgrounds, and so that really limits the ability to raise, any more than we raised. So we increased the appetite. So now, with this project, which is called After the Summer, our new project, and so what that has meant is that, unlike with Ruin Me, where we had the full ability to greenlight the movie, where we were like the five of us were able to say, okay, we're shooting in Muskegon, Michigan for 15 days starting September 11th, 2015. So we greenlit that movie. Now we put ourselves in the position of having to rely on others to greenlight our movie, because we need their outside funds. And on one hand, that's been good, because that has really challenged us to up our game artistically in terms of the script and hammer that script until it is absolutely tight, and singing a really loud song that people want to hear. But even with that, now we are waiting on people to give us a green light, and by that I mean specifically actors. At this budget level, you need somewhat known acting talent to attach to your movie to raise the financing. And I perhaps naively believed that with the success that we had with Ruin Me, with the festival success, with getting it on Shudder, that that would allow us to sort of break through and at least get that that low budget next horror movie going. That
Right.
I can tell you is wrong. That is wrong. It almost feels like we're
Oof.
starting from nothing. It almost feels like we're starting all over again. So the eye, as I mentioned, the eye on the prize of breaking into becoming a filmmaker as part of the Hollywood machine is the reason that we decided to try to up our appetite for this second film. But it means that it's taken literal years to make progress on it, which is incredibly frustrating to me. A person who I enjoy writing, but I want to be out making. I want to be out doing. The writing process is great, but one thing that I love about filmmaking is the cyclical nature of it. That there is a time when it's me in my room about pounding in final draft, but there's also a time where I'm out scouting, and there's a time where I'm shooting, and then there's a time where I'm cutting in post, and then I'm working on color, and then I'm working on the sound mix, then I'm working on the poster, and then I'm doing the fest. Like, I love that that it's this long-term thing that just has so many different phases to it, and I've been stuck now in the writing phase for so long. So I'm really, really hoping that I'm a part of the Writers Guild of America, and as you may know, we're currently on strike.
Yes,
We're in day 53, I believe, of our strike.
And I'm really curious if this will if that will still be true by the time this episode airs, which is most likely going to be September. We're recording in late June.
Let us both hope that is not the case, that when listeners discover this in September, that the strike has ended, so that I can continue work on this project. I'm prohibited from moving this project ahead as a member of the Writers Guild.
So really, that's true for your own personal projects?
So we are allowed to write our own personal projects. We are not allowed to move those personal projects toward production, because
okay. So and your current state is that the script is more or less finished.
The script is done. We, thank God, after many years and many drafts, the script is done. I am incredibly proud of it. I've grown so much as a writer, both as a result of Ruin Me, but also as a result of the process of writing After the Summer and not being able to greenlight it ourselves. And so having to, throw Ruin Me did not have to be thrown into the meat grinder of the Hollywood machine. Ruin Me went from our keyboards to cameras. And there's something great about that, but also there's being put through the meat grinder with After the Summer and being forced to up the game again and again when we get notes and feedback and a pass or whatever, passes from people or whatever, and looking at it and going, how do we make it better? How do we make it better? How do we make it better? And really grappling with that and going back to the mat again and again and again has made the writing so much stronger. So I feel so much confidence in where the script has ended up. But man, we got to get it in front of cameras. So that being said, I wonder if in the meantime, if I should be looking at doing another Ruin Me size thing.
Yeah, I was going to ask that, like, because that. Well, I was about to say it seems like a success, but I guess I have to split that up. It seems like it is an artistic success and a critical success, but not a financial success. And so, and that last one really is in many ways the most important in terms of sustainability.
Well, I would actually add one more piece to it. So,
yeah.
Not necessarily, and it's related to financial success, and it is not a success in terms of breaking down the walls of Hollywood for me. And
right, it's not a career success for you.
It's not necessarily a career success. As proud as I am of it, and as grateful as I am to the amazing festival run that we had, the places I got to visit, the people I got to connect with, the distribution on Shudder, all of those things are awesome. I'm proud of it. I'm grateful for it. It did not translate into breaking down the walls of Hollywood for me. And it made me realize again how high and how thick those walls are and how difficult it is to break through, and how few many are called, few are chosen, right?
Yeah.
And so it did not achieve that, which was frankly the goal. The goal was to move from doing this as sort of a hobby, which is how it exists now in a state where you're spending more money on it than you're generating, right, into making it a truly sustainable career. And so that's the goal. But maybe we need to go back and do one more micro budget again. And maybe the next time we talk, that's what we'll be talking about is that. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I'm curious if because so much of what you talked about in terms of the distribution of Ruin Me was in terms of like wanting to build up this prestige and use that to break into the mainstream Hollywood industry, and that unfortunately didn't work. It makes me wonder if you might do like a self-distribution or Film Hub or something like that, which has like lower fees and might have less prestige, but might make you more money with your next feature if you do another micro budget film.
I would say all bets are on. If we do another micro budget, we'll certainly be looking at how can we get a different result in those two categories. But
right.
Also, I really appreciate you saying that it is an artistic success. I maybe it's just my own self criticism. I wish that I wish our IMDb score were higher, for instance. I wish that.
I was surprised by that. When I looked at it, whereas like on Shudder it has a 4 out of 5 little red skulls,
right?
Yeah,
right.
Which and that looks like a fair assessment to me.
Thank you.
Then on IMDb, it's much lower, and the featured review of it is rather complimentary, but then is also 5 out of 10, which
Yeah.
I mean, apparently there are people who consider 5 out of 10 to be like above average.
Right.
I don't. When I see 5 out of 10, I think like, oh, that's not very good.
There's something rough. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. That is curious to me. It doesn't make sense to me.
I will just, as I said, we did the absolute best we could at that moment in our lives. And I feel like I've grown so much, we've grown so much, and I can do, if I get another shot, I feel like I can do way better.
Yeah, well, I hope you do
Thank you,
either
Thomas.
break in or decide to make another micro budget movie.
Yeah.
And so the last question that I like to ask is, where do you see the future of independent filmmaking going? Because and you're in an unusual position for answering this, because this was your first film,
Mm-hmm.
and your goal was to move out of independent filmmaking. So I'm really curious, both like what you see as changing, and how like your experience and attempting to make the jump from independent to mainstream, how that has changed your perspective at all.
Yeah. Let me caveat just a little bit. I wouldn't say I want to necessarily move out of independent filmmaking. I want to move out of micro budget, friends and family level filmmaking. How about that?
Okay.
I would love to make an indie of an A24 level indie, like that. Those are still independent films, but they are the appetites for those are quite a bit higher than a micro budget. I should have anticipated this question. I've heard you ask it of others. I don't know that I'm going to have a super insightful question or answer to the question, because, man, I don't know if everyone of every generation feels like this all the time, but it does feel like this moment is a really, really transformational moment in this industry, because we have been forced to move to this streaming model as the pervasive model, and yet now the streaming model that the film and television industry, which for decades was incredibly lucrative and made a lot of people very rich and a lot of money.
Right.
The syndication era of the 80s and then the 90s and even the early aughts was an incredibly lucrative model. Now that model is broken, and so we are at a moment where everything is getting rebuilt in a way that can become profitable again. And the writer's strike is part of this.
Yes. Yeah. I hope that the distribution of funds becomes a little more equitable. You sort of left out what I see as an important era there between the syndication era and the streaming era, which was the home video and home DVD area.
Yes, of course, hugely lucrative.
And that makes me wonder, since RLJ Entertainment has put out Ruin Me on DVD, do you get a chunk of those sales whenever somebody buys a DVD? Do you get like a few pennies or whatever?
It goes towards our so the way that it works is that you get a minimum guarantee. So you get an upfront payment. Right. So every stream and every purchase goes towards our minimum guarantee. And if we were to sell, 10 billion DVDs, we would exceed the minimum guarantee and start to make a profit. But yes, the answer is yes and no.
But The situation I was concerned about is if they were just they're like, hey, we paid you the 10,000 or whatever it is that they paid you, and now we're gonna just print all these DVDs and you don't get any more money.
No, there's at least in theory someone tracking those sales and all of that stuff. So the future of independent filmmaking, I hope that we find a way to bring films that are not superheroes and are not designed to be massive hits, that there is a way for those films to have a lucrative future again.
Yeah.
I look at even, I'm a Star Trek fan.
I love Star Trek.
It's a great franchise. We haven't had a feature film in the Star Trek franchise since 2016 because they priced themselves out of the market. They made those features starting with the JJ movie in 2009.
They decided to make them big fancy blockbusters that take a lot of money to make.
That take a huge amount of resources to make. And now we can't have another Star Trek movie because that's the category that's lived in. And I feel like there are so many great movies that live in this, what used to be a huge middle ground between small and mid range that don't get to see the light of day because everyone's obsessed with huge, massive hits and IP and all of these things. I think that the worm will turn. I don't know how long it's going to take.
The worm will turn. Is that a phrase I'm not familiar with?
That is the phrase of like we're going to go into a different direction.
Okay.
Where the things will move in a different direction. And I think that at some point in the possibly distant future, but that we will move back to originals and mid-budgeted things having a chance again. And that right now, every meeting I have in town, everyone says we're always looking for IP. Like that's literally everyone says that. They're always looking for IP. And I think that someday, it might be 50 years from now, I might be dead by the time this happens. But they're going to say we're only looking for originals now. It's going to happen someday, and let's hope sooner rather than later, so that we can get some original stuff again.
Yeah. Well, I do want to point out that we continue to get plenty of original stuff if you look at independent films. And
absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I do watch the occasional mainstream blockbuster at my local drive-in, but when I'm watching movies at home on my own or with my friends, it is almost always either a classic from decades and decades ago or something modern that nobody's ever heard of.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And thank you for that. Thank you for that. Thank you for your patronage.
Yeah, it's always nice when I can consume it in a way that, at least in theory, benefits the creator and also doesn't cost me anything on the margin, because I already have that Shudder subscription.
Right. Absolutely. I feel like we've done a good advertisement for Shudder today.
Yeah.
They deserve it. They're great.
Yeah, I love Shudder. I discovered a bunch of stuff through there that I would never have heard of otherwise, which is always really good. So you don't have any work that you are currently directing people towards, apart from, of course, Ruin Me and the available on Shudder, but you have
I would say the other, the TV show that I helped write and produce, Manhunt Unabomber, and the second season Manhunt Deadly Games are out there.
Oh, okay.
So if anyone's interested in true crime, that is out there. But those are the things that I've got that are finished. Everything else right now lives as words on my computer.
Yeah, everybody's the world's most famous pure mathematician.
Ted Kaczynski.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And do you have any social media or anything you would like to direct people towards?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on Twitter at Preston DEF is my name, PRESTONDEF. I don't tweet a ton, but if I do tweet, I try to. It's if I have something that I think is worth saying. So, but also as I mentioned earlier, we do have the Slasher Sleep Out T-shirts for sale. If anyone would like to wear, they are super soft. People that buy them tell me that it is their favorite T-shirt. The fit is great. They're super
Awesome.
high quality.
Where do they
And
find those?
so they're available through the Wicked Critter Etsy store. So if you just Google Slasher Sleep Out, it's like the first thing that comes up.
Okay.
So those are available for purchase. And another thing that making this film has done is it's gotten me a chance to do stuff like this, which is really a great honor. And it's always cool to just talk to different people. And I discovered your podcast this way, and I like listening to the episodes that I listen to. It's a version of going to the film festival and having those discussions. So like the Guts filmmakers, I have not met, but I feel like I have because of your podcast. And you mentioned the Barn
Thank
filmmakers,
you.
who they are friends of friends, but I've not met them. And I look forward to listening to that episode and meeting them that way.
Yeah, it's just the one on that episode, Justin Seaman.
Justin, great.
Yeah, and but yeah, I love the I think it was the Guts people who introduced me to Justin and to Pierce Berolsheimer, the guy who directed Crabs.
I've not seen Crabs. I don't know.
I think it's on Tubi.
Okay.
And that episode comes out in July. And then Justin introduced me to Lloyd Kaufman, who I'm hoping we were supposed to have an interview a little while ago, but it fell through. But I'm hoping this next one works.
Cool. That's cool, Thomas. He's a legend. He's a legend.
Thanks.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's very flattering to hear. Thank you so much. I wish you luck in breaking into mainstream stuff, and
thanks, Thomas.
And whether or not you do, I hope you also continue to make independent things that I can find on Shudder or elsewhere.
Thank you.